Welcome back to the surface grinder restoration series. I am putting on the height way protector here, and in this video we're going to talk about repairing the oiler system, which basically applies oil to the metal on metal ways. And when we got the oiling system, when we got the surface grinder, actually the oil would not pump, so I'm diagnosing that by filling up and applying pressure. And as you can see, there's no oil coming out of the pipes. And really, my scientific method here was just to pressurize the system and then start taking apart the fittings until oil started spilling all over the place. The surface grinder itself had a strange bearing, linear bearing in the V-way when we got it, which was not supposed to be there. So I think part of their oil system just stopped working, and they tried to fix everything with this V-way. And you can see previous videos about an explanation about how jacked up this thing was when we got it. And it appears that it was this part, because now oil comes out fine. This appears to be the culprit. It's the metering or the check valve, and I could not pump oil through the tubes. So I think this and perhaps some other parts may need to be replaced. So the oil system is laid out like this. We have a pump, and from the pump we have a check valve, then a master metering valve that sets the amount of oil that flows out. And from there, it goes to the surface grinder itself. That's the side view. There's a pipe that goes up to where the Z gears are, and then there's a pipe and a flexible hose that goes to a metering block that has 3 smaller metering valves, and that goes to the different ways. Drawn another way, we have the pump, check valve, metering valve. I think that's a designation that was on the valve itself. A T fitting that goes to the Z screw, then a flexible hose to a metering block with 3 metering valves labeled SM, and that distributes it to the X and Z ways. So these are the designations that were written on the original parts, and these are all bijou oiler parts, so I was able to find a place to order the replacement parts. So this is the pump oiler, and that tube that's attached to it is, I think, a flex tube that goes between the y-axis carriage and a hard line. This is the distribution block. These are the old oil metering. These are the old oil metering valves, and here are the new valves. These, I think, were clogged, so I'm going to replace these. That metering block goes here, which is the underside of the carriage. And then we also have some replacement, a main oil metering and a check valve, and that's the old ones on the below, and some new copper hard line. Here is that tube of oil system. So there's the input, there's the T. Looks like we have another control right there. This tube really just goes up to the top and just spits oil out on the gear. Like there's no port really. It just drips oil right onto the gear, which is kind of cool. So these T's, I'm going to clean up these T's and probably replace some of the copper. I mean, I have replacement lines, so I'll try to use what I have. And here's this is the transition T that mounts to
the flex hose to get all that stuff cleaned up.
To clean a lot of the oil system parts, I put them all in a cup and poured in muriatic acid, which starts to foam up and corrode and I guess oxidize some of the metal. You can see all the bubbles coming off of it. So that got the parts mostly clean, and then I brushed them and sort of polished them to return them to their original beauty. The oil system assembly and repair process was not the most glamorous thing in the world. It was just a plumbing operation. Basically, I'm cutting all the hoses or piping to match the old pieces and forming them and bending them to be the same shape. I needed to replace some of the hoses because they were kinked, and I wanted it to be a little cleaner of an install. And while I was at it, since I had the extra copper pipe, I just replaced every one so it had a nice new look. I can be a little obsessive about my plumbing and wiring installs, which I think is a virtue, not a curse, because a nice well-installed set of pipes is pleasing. And I even replaced some of the internal pipes of the pump, it looks like. So everything was new and fresh, and we had new metering valve fittings. The oil system is basically designed to add some pressure, which then drips oil into the ways. Because it's metal on metal, they slide on each other. What's amazing is that you can actually change the surface grinder's tolerance when you add oil. If you're not careful, the layer of oil will lift the bed and affect the precision of your surface grinder. Then it was time to mount the pump on the side of the surface grinder. I moved it down a little bit so that you could get to it with your hands, which required us re-drilling and tapping some new holes. I can tell you from experience you'll want to tap these by hand, because I broke a tap trying to use a drill to quickly tap it. You live and you learn. So I attached the pump with some stainless steel bolts, and then it was just a matter of bending and connecting the hard line from the pump to the grinder itself. Now for finally getting some oil in the pump and testing it out. Works like a charm. And it slowly releases oil. The little handle slowly goes back down. So you pretty much just have to hit it once at the beginning of a surface grinding session. And now that there is oil on all the ways, they slide beautifully back and forth. In the next video, we're going to be wrapping up this restoration finally. The grinder has long since been finished, but I have been delayed on the videos, so we'll tram in the vise and start throwing sparks. Thanks for watching.